But no, I just peek out the window.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Freese. I'm the mayor of Tonganoxie, and I'm calling to order this April 20th, 2026 meeting of the Tonganoxie City Council. Ms. Huntington, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Wilkie?
Here.
Ms. McCutcheon?
Here.
Ms. Stevens?
Here.
Ms. Kirby?
Here.
Mr. Dale?
Here.
Would you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first order of business is to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. If anybody has any questions or concerns or a motion at this time, I'd love to hear it.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Gruby. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Council, if you would indulge me, I'm going to move the items A and B from the mayor agenda up to this point in the agenda, if that's all right with everyone. We're here tonight, among other things, to recognize the kids who, I'm trying to find the name of it.
Battle of the Brains.
Battle of the Brains. Thank you for it. To recommend the kids who recognize the Battle of the Brains. In alphabetical order, here's the students: John Edward Atwater, River Brumley, Eden Gary, Brock Glassman, John Graveman, Afton McCoy, Stephen Sedgwick, Madison Watson, Maxwell Sturgeon, and Gustavo Zasadi. We have teachers also to mention Tracy Waldire and Steve Bartlow. That's very interesting. I had a biology teacher named Steve Bartlow 100 years ago. These students were named the grand prize winner in the Burns and McDonald Battle of the Brains STEM competition on Wednesday, February 4th at Union Station. Their proposal, Mechanical Madness, the Science of Cars, encourages visitors to explore the world of automotive mechanics through interactive hands-on experiences. Their proposal was one of the 710 entrants for this competition, which encourages student teams to imagine, research, design the next exhibit at Science City. By winning the competition, TMS will receive $50,000 for STEM education, and the Mechanical Madness exhibit will be built at Science City, projected opening 2027. These students will have the opportunity to work with engineers and designers from Burns and McDonnell and Science City as the exhibit is being constructed. You all represented Tonganoxie very well and brought honor to your community, and we just wanted to recognize you for that. This is what we're going to do. We're going to bring everybody up here to take a picture, and then we have something over here to give you all. But first, let's give you a round of applause.
Yes.
Nice job, congrats.
That's fantastic. All right, let's gather around and take a picture here.
Yeah, it's because
Over here.
Over there, yeah. There you go. It's like a wedding.
There's gonna be a whole exhibit? That's cool.
Okay, great, yes, please do. Thank you for not bringing them. Congratulations.
Hey, David.
You all are free to stay, you're free to go. Nothing's keeping you here unless you want to enjoy a nice city council meeting.
He's jumped before.
Lots of knowledge. Bag policies.
Okay. My papers here in order. Our next item on the reconfigured agenda is the proclamation recognizing April as Sexual Violence Awareness Month. What I was given is very long. I'm going to read the very first part of it. The proclamation reads, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas sexual assault affects people of every age, race, gender, socioeconomic background, and community, including residents of the city of Tonganoxie. And whereas the city of Tonganoxie recognizes the profound physical, emotional, and psychological impacts that these actions have on survivors, their families, and the community as a whole. And whereas fostering a safe, supportive, and informative community is essential to preventing such crimes and ensuring that survivors feel empowered to come forward without fear of stigma, blame, or disbelief. Whereas the Alliance Against Family Violence, which offers 24/7 crisis assistance, confidential shelter, legal advocacy, medical advocacy, counseling, and a bi-monthly support group for survivors in Leavenworth County. And whereas state partners such as the Kansas Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, KCSDV, strengthen prevention efforts and coordinate advocacy services across Kansas, connecting survivors to trained professionals and local resources to meet their immediate and long-term needs. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month provides an important opportunity for residents to learn more about consent, healthy relationships, bystander intervention, and the vital role each person plays in creating a safer community. Now, therefore, I, David Freese, Mayor of the City of Tonganoxie, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Is there anyone here with the group? Thank you so much for the work you do. If there's anyone who'd like to come forward and speak. And it's not necessary if you don't want to.
Well, thank you for giving us this proclamation. We offer services. Unfortunately, we have to continue to offer those services, and it hits all avenues of life, male and female, and all income brackets. So I have two staff members here who are, and they work with, they do our outreach programs. She goes to the campuses. It's a big deal as the kids start to date, and so we are on the campuses now, and we have survivor groups. We offer lots of services, so thank you for doing this for us and letting people know that we are in existence. Some people don't realize that we're there, and sometimes that's a good thing, and those that need it, it's unfortunate that they don't know that we're there. So we are expanding our services as well. because there are counties in Kansas that have no domestic violence shelters at all. So there's one in western Kansas that serves 16 counties. So it is a very busy field, unfortunately, but thank you for acknowledging us.
Well, thank you for all the work you do. It's necessary, unfortunately, and extremely important. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do that.
One, two, three. Awesome, thank you.
Fundraising from time to time. We typically put our information out to TV ladies.
I hope it was in the yard first. Put it here.
Thank you. Good luck. Oh, yeah, okay.
Also, feel free to leave at your leisure. It's a good time tonight, but I can understand if you have other things to do. We're moving on to old business. Is that correct, Mr. Porter?
Consent.
Oh, yes.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda. In which we review bill payments from the previous period. Are there any questions about the bill payments or a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up is old business, in which I believe, Mr. Porter, we have a speaker tonight.
We do, Mayor. We have Mr. James Crowder.
Thank you for allowing me to come and speak a little bit tonight. I got a few notes I wanted to share. I have a lovely dog that loves the walking park here, and I appreciate all the money and commitments that the city does to make that a nice park, and the VFW. So, in saying that, there's a lot of electric bicycles that are running around down there by young children that probably shouldn't even be on electric bikes. That's my opinion. And I think they're damaging our park. I've seen pictures, or I've sent pictures to Dan and to the chief of spots on the VFW bridge where they've done burnouts and burnt through the poly planks that are on there. Not through, but dug ruts into them. I've seen them down there when I walk every day, and they're down there, and when after it rains, they'll just be running through there and they'll lock up their brakes, skid ruts into our nice soccer fields that are down there for our younger children to play and our high school kids, and tearing it up. And the city employees, the Parks and Rec, do a lot of work to keep that field in very nice condition. And me personally, I enjoyed riding my bike to the park. And I'm not saying that the electric bike shouldn't be allowed to ride to the park, but I don't think they need to be rode in the park. Tonight, I was down there with my dog, was coming around, and right by the bathhouse, and here they come across the street, 3 of them, and the tennis kids were coming out, and they had to all 3 lock up their brakes, almost went over their handlebars because they weren't paying attention to what they're doing. We have seniors that walk down there. We have little kids playing on the playgrounds. My opinion, there's no need for them down there. They can park them when they're there. They can go play. The soccer fields are to run on, not to ride bikes across. That's my personal opinion. Let's see, what else did I have? Just basically public safety is what I care about down there. I've met a lot of older folks, so I'm getting old, so I shouldn't say that. A lot of people my age down there and walking, and I'd hate to see one of us get hit by one of them and not be able to do our walks every day. So just appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you again for what you do. So appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. we may have something here on the agenda tonight to address that, we hope. On with old business, ordinance number 1548, e-mobility device policy. Mr. Brukovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just make a few quick comments and then turn it over to Chief Lawson and Anna Kerslick, the city attorney, to kind of pick up from the staff draft policy that's embedded in the ordinance. Again, just as a reminder, this is something that the city, the use of e-bikes and e-mobility devices, again, it's not unique to the city of Tonganoxie. Staff has been participating since late last year on regional discussions with agencies like Mid-America Regional Council, and I believe Chief Lawson just attended an event related to that, or a work session on that last week, and he'll probably give you some updates on that. And I know that we've kind of updated some of our slides for the presentation because there's good summaries about what other communities are doing. But again, as a reminder, I think we're in a unique position because we don't really share city limits with another city, and so we can really fine-tune something that makes sense for Tonganoxie as a community. But I wanted to really emphasize that this isn't something that we're asking the city council to create policy overnight. We've had public discussions on this at both of the December 2025 city council meetings. The item was in the city's fall newsletter. We do too, a fall and a spring newsletter, and about the growing concerns and things we were seeing and hearing from community members, like we did this evening with concerns. And I know that the challenge is always not doing something reactionary, not something restrictive, but it has to be something that makes sense, and we want to prevent serious injury. Yeah, I don't know if Mr. Porter was planning to share it, but we just on Friday afternoon we had a young fella that hit the handrail in front of City Hall, and our security cameras picked it up and kind of folded the bike and fell over on the sidewalk. And honestly, thank God he fell on the sidewalk, even though not under even current regulations, you're not supposed to ride on the sidewalk, because had he veered into the street, there was traffic going both directions on 4th Street. And so it's just a constant reminder. And so I don't think we're late to the game, but I want to, again, remind us all that we spent a lot of time analyzing it, and staff, I think, has developed a great recommendation for your consideration. So with that, I'll turn it over maybe to Chief Lawson first, and have him give any updates that might be necessary. And Mr. Porter, if we've got updated slides, feel free to share those as well. Thank you.
Thank you again, council, for having me. Kind of this slide up here, that we put this in the agenda packet, I believe, but it just kind of goes to show you, we got I obtained this from Mark. We went to a community outreach thing to for them to actually, roll this out to the community. Now, it was downtown Kansas City, Missouri, but as you know, Mark is a regional organization that corresponds and collaborates with many different communities. So if you kind of look at this this slide right here, this actually was in the city of Shawnee, and they use this as an example for like motorized scooters. And so it's really not identical to ours, because I think of our demographic, George did a great job of saying that we're kind of unique, where Shawnee has some of the little nuances there that we don't have, but pretty much is kind of mirroring that operators for the scooters may only operate on the sidewalks. They may not be ridden in the street. And we're talking about our electric scooters, and what we call motorized skateboards are also, I think anybody that probably were riding these things 10 years ago, you heard the weed eater type motor on them, versus the electric ones. And so that's what the electric scooters are defined as versus the e-scooters. Riders under 18 must wear a helmet. This is in Shawnee specifically, which is what we've put in our ordinances. And as you can see down below, they're talking about e-bikes, which are e-bicycles propelled by human power, are permitted on sidewalks, bike lanes, trails, and roadways. Shawnee doesn't specifically break it up in class, but if you want to go to the next slide there, Dan, here's kind of kind of a breakdown, and the closest one to us is Baser. As you can see, we have Lee Summit, Merriam. Merriam's not really close, but Mission and Merriam are probably the smallest ones, with aside from Parkville. And this kind of gives a breakdown of on pass. But, you know, like, we have really got a lot of complaints about the park area, and I'll kind of, let me jump into one more slide there, Dan, if you would, please. So the closest one here is obviously Leavenworth. The e-scooters are prohibited on city streets, and so, as you can see, Leavenworth is close to us. And the other ones really probably aren't comparable, but helmets are a big thing that most municipalities are kind of focusing in on. And this was just kind of from Mark last week. If, in reference to council's concerns last week, if you refer to the ordinance, and I'm not going to go through any kind of step-by-step, but I'm going to make this quick because I know that I've spoke a lot about this matter here. But on page 3, if you go to motorized skateboards, I think Mr. Dale expressed some concerns about, I'm good, and I'm paraphrasing what you said, Mr. Dale, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I kind of took some copious notes last week, that areas where there are not sidewalks and somebody's wanting to ride to the pool or the park or school, if the school actually allows that applicable, there's a bias on the property, that it's kind of tough if you're in a neighborhood that doesn't have sidewalks. So Anna did a great job on motorized skateboards, which will be kind of an e-scooter with a motor versus battery powered. And so that's kind of the things that kind of delineate between them. At the very last line, you see in blue or red, depending upon which copy you have, except for crossing any street, road, or highway as necessary. And that is someone who's going to the pool that aren't utilizing a sidewalk, but they're jumping to the first available thoroughfare that they possibly can. In jumping all the way to page 5, we have some corrections there, and we talk about the electric assisted bicycle ride in places where bicycles are allowed. Bicycle lanes, multi-pass, sidewalks, trails, and networks, except referencing the gentleman that got up here and expressed concern. In number 1, we were trying to delineate or differentiate rather between different classes, what would be in a park, what goes faster. And I think if we understood council correctly, we just eliminated all e-bicycles. We didn't try to say, because it's going to be hard to enforce as the police department, are you on a class 1, class 2, or 3? So we prohibited all of them in public parks or trails. And if anybody has anything, please feel free to interrupt me and say, I don't understand that, or I need a little bit of clarification on something. And 2, except as provided in section 1116, electric bicycle may be operated on a sidewalk, provided that it shall be unlawful for any person to operate an electric assisted bicycle in excess of 15 miles an hour. And we took counsel at their desire and wishes last week, where versus trying to, again, differentiate between class 1, class 2, and class 3, what's capable, we just simply set it at a speed limit of 15 miles an hour. So if you're seeing someone, whether they be adult or juvenile, riding down the sidewalk, 15 miles an hour is about the average that probably a child going downhill or a juvenile going downhill could probably travel. On 3, we had a good discussion last week with Councilperson Wilkie about driver's license, and Anna did a lot of good research on that. And although I think there's 2 or 3 different ways to interpret the state statute, whether we can be more restrictive on that versus more lenient to make it easier, we just went with 15 years of age on that versus trying to prohibit with and make someone say that they need a driver's license, which I think she felt comfortable with, and the question will be, do you feel comfortable with that? So 15 years of age as far as on a class 2. And again, to beat a dead horse, a class 2 is something that you can just put on the throttle and you don't have to pedal at all. Going down to section 5, again, going back to Mr. Dale, we're talking about, let's say a class 2 bicycle. That would probably be more in reference to something like that. If someone is riding on the street that is on a class 2, that they could, and if they were 15 years of age or whatever, just below on a class 1 or 3, then they could actually use a road to get to the next sidewalk. We just kind of did street on section 6, made that a little bit more clarification. Going to page 6 in 135.1, talking about electric assisted scooters. We put in there, except for crossing any street, road, or federal highway. So if we're talking about crossing, again, if we're going to a sidewalk area, that's going to be applicable to that, what Mr. Dale brought up last week. So I kind of did a really fast speed through that, and if anybody has any questions on that, if we missed something that you were after, or we weren't clear enough on something you were after, please feel free to say so.
I think you said it, but does this now address Mr. Crowley's concerns?
Yes, and so basically, I think last week, we had, in the last 2 weeks, actually, the last 2 meetings, we were trying to say, okay, a class 1 goes this fast, a class 2 goes this fast, 3 goes this fast. Maybe class 3 would be okay, but not class 2, so we just made it much easier. So e-bikes, motorcycles, and scooter are prohibited in parks and trails, period. And so it's just an easy way to look at it, that I don't think there's anything allowed in a park that is battery or motor powered in our parks and on our trails, city property, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate
No,
your
thank
time.
you very much.
Mr. Brockovich, will this require some signage in the parks? that says-
Yes, yes, so we've talked about that. There are some signs in existence now over on the wide sidewalk that goes past Gallagher Park and into Chieftain Park that prevents or prohibits motorized vehicles and a variety of other things. So we'll, depending on what happens with the ordinance tonight, we'll ask staff to either get customized signs made or updates based on what the policy is going to provide direction on.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else have any questions or comments for staff? Well, if we're ready to,
I do have one question.
go ahead.
It doesn't necessarily, I think that what has been put together addresses the concerns that the group has and the community has. My question is about, is around education, and I know that we're not interested in providing educational courses or anything to try to solve the problem of kids not knowing the rules of the road, but they could run into these rails on a regular bike, or I've been almost run over on a kid on just a regular bicycle walking with my stroller before, and so if we're not interested in doing a course, I'm just thinking it's a downstream issue of an upstream problem, which is kids, the development of their brain. They're not thinking, they're not aware of what they're doing. But is there any way to provide some kind of clause for a parent who is responsible to ride from point A to point B with their kid for the purpose of teaching their kid? They want their kid to say they're a very passionate e-bike lover and they're a responsible individual, and their kid wants to go ride to get an ice cream cone at Three Sisters and ride home again. And in theory, a parent could ride with them and ensure that they are learning the rules of the road and following the rules of the road. I'm just thinking of that individual that isn't trying to just say, get out of my house and go ride with your friends, which is probably the majority of the problem, but a responsible parent to teach their kid. I know that that's probably difficult to enforce, but I also know that if we're going to be taking away potentially access to these bikes from lots of kids that maybe their parents spent a bunch of money on Christmas to get their kid because now they've been out for a couple of years and a bunch of kids have got them. They're very popular. To have a response to say, oh, well, if you guys really love e-bikes, that's great. All you got to do is ride with them the whole time. And then parents go, well, I don't want to do that. But it still allows for that individual who cares a lot and they ride too and they take their kids out. Is that something that I guess the council is interested in entertaining, or is that not something that is, I guess, wise to include in the policy? not that you probably wouldn't pull someone over for that, but I just want to ask the question.
Matthew, before Greg answers, two things. The neighbor kid I see all the time, his mom is a nurse and works 12-hour shifts. And he has his license and is super safe because of the healthcare mindset of the family. But in a situation like that, like, she would not be able to, ride with him. And then I know that, like a lot of the people who work within the city, they want to move towards compliance as opposed to like issuing citations. And so I think that that's what Greg's response would be. And to add on another thing, the idea I talked about last week is having some sort of incentive for kids to come and like learn the rules of the road and get like a helmet when they've completed some kind of a training. And that could be something that the community could work on, the churches could work on.
I see that as a really good program for the rec.
Yeah, the rec, some collaboration with the rec center. When I lived in Lawrence and our boys were little, we went to something like that, and everybody learned the basics and got like a reflector. They got a helmet. It was great, and they made a big fun event out of it. And so we as council might try to brainstorm at some point how, as a community, we could do that just to support all the bicyclists in town that are coming up. Because I don't know where I learned how to do the hand signs except for my older brothers. Sorry.
Well, I can do, like, at the high school, our SRO, we did one of those about 3 years ago for bicycle safety. And it's kind of like I told council probably about 3 meetings ago, we have no objection. If you're telling me that you think that's a good idea, we're gonna run with that. Not only because you said it, because we're always looking for opportunities to educate the community. Summertime is coming up. School is gonna be getting out right around the corner before we know it. We don't have any problem with partnering with the rec commission on that, on giving some kind of bicycle safety. But the councilperson's Wilkie's comment, I think that we're not, by the current standard of the ordinance, the only one that we are prohibiting is the class 2. And that is, just pull on the throttle, don't worry about pedaling and driving. And so I would just kind of echo something, and I think that I said probably, gosh darn, it's probably early winters when we first brought this up. And this would be the only thing that I would caution, and we batted this back and forth, council, and we're gonna enforce whatever you guys as the legislators want us to do. But I can just tell you from the police perspective, it's very difficult, and working very many accidents, and in some unfortunate cases, fatality accidents when I worked at my other job, it's very, very difficult for, action happens a lot faster than reaction. And I think that we've all had little ones at some point in time, whether we have our own children or we're watching children or whatever, that, someone's running out in the street and you're saying, no, don't stop, don't do that. And, your batting average is about 50%. And the only thing that makes something bad happen is, and luck is the man upstairs. And so someone riding along, and I just kind of want, just to the point, I'm certainly not disagreeing with you, Councilperson Wilkie. If you consider riding with a 7, 8, 9-year-old, and we've all been around kids either of our own or in other venues, is trying to coach a child that's riding something that's going possibly up to 20 to 28 miles an hour, and even riding along beside them, and you see something dangerous come up, and coaching them in that very moment and trying to alert them is going to be really, really difficult. And so that's kind of why we went with the no on the class 2, and especially, making the state law a lot more descriptive on essentially battery-operated motorcycles. I can tell you it's going to be really tough, and it sounds good in nature and as an idea, and I certainly don't disagree. I would feel better with a parent riding. It's just that my job is kind of to ensure safety and to safeguard and protect people from themselves sometimes. And so that's what I would say in response. It doesn't mean that I disagree. It's just something I'd like council to think about. And as far as the education piece, again, we're always looking for excuses to go out there and associate and congregate and play with the kids. And so certainly we would be up for something like that. I would just ask that it's not contingent upon giving someone to permission something that is self-propelled that can travel 28 miles an hour. if anybody has any questions about that. Like I said, I'm certainly not here to debate, and I'm not sitting in your seat, so I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate on some of
Thank
this
you.
stuff.
No, I feel like you very much answered my question and explained why, and I just think that that might be a question that someone would ask. And
No, for sure.
felt that I should ask it, and I like the idea of a rec bike safety course that would apply to e-bikes as well, and in my view, it's a downstream problem of an upstream issue of education and development of a kid, and we're trying to make citizens, that take into consideration other people around them. So I think it makes sense, and I've had times that my kid didn't listen to me when I said, hey, stop. So I very much understand. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? If not, I'd accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 1548, an ordinance relating to the regulation of traffic within the corporate limits of the city of Tonganoxie, Kansas, pertaining to operation of electric-assisted bicycles, electric-assisted scooters, motorized skateboards, and motorcycles, amending and repealing existing section 14-102 of the Tonganoxie City Code.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item B, under old business, is consider approval of a police department updated outfitting quote. Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mayor. The agenda packet included an agenda statement for this item that outlines the detailed explanation of the change in plans. I'll sort of sum it up in brief, and then if you have other questions, I'm sure me or Chief Lawson could both help you with this. What was previously contemplated were sort of moderate shifts in equipment and outfitting to two different vehicles, one that was being transferred from one role to another, and then the newly purchased Tahoe that's purchased earlier in the year 2026. The revised course of action that we want to proceed with and reject those prior plans is to use in-house equipment to equip a older vehicle at no or very, very marginal cost, and then use this full budgetary authority requested in the agenda statement of just over $15,000 for the outfitting of, I'm sorry, I apologize. The new vehicle would receive those minimal in-house equipment swaps or installs, and then the older vehicle would be fully equipped with the outfit needed for a patrol utilization. So still in essence a somewhat similar plan, but just a different packaging of it, and obviously a different cost level too. Our general fund budget and police equipment fund budget are both utilized for the vehicle purchase and outfitting, and those funds both maintain budget authority and funds available to very easily make this purchase at the requested amount. We don't have any concerns with the revised approach, and again, do apologize that it was a slightly different plan of action, but we're glad to get it back to you quickly and before we made any steps on those previous quotes. So happy to take any questions you might have.
Did anyone break it to Chief that we were going to get one of those Italian sports cars or police cars for him to drive around town?
Like a Porsche?
Any questions? If not, I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that authorizes staff to reject the previously authorized outfitting quotes and accept an enclosed updated quote to outfit one 2024 Chevy Tahoe police vehicle via municipality LLC not to exceed $15,113.03.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second with the adjustment that it's Multiplicity LLC.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. You accept that change?
Yeah, yes, I just,
Okay, and Ms. Gruby, do your second still stand?
Yes.
All right.
oh, I see it in bigger print now on the next page.
Not trying to correct you, just making sure we get paid the right person.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Made my font smaller with that last slide that was really big, and I'm like, how do I?
All right, let's get on to voting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Chief, thanks again for all that you do and all your hard work that you put into all of this. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for council's patience. I know that this is a topic that I know I'm ready to stop talking about, and I appreciate the sympathetic ear. So thank you for the budget approval and the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief.
Moving on to new business, Resolution 042603, approval of right-of-way agreement for 220 South Main Street. Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to recognize that Patrick Kilborn is here tonight, just joined us, and he had to walk a really long ways from his home, which is across the parking lot here. We're here to talk tonight about an agreement that we're proposing to receive your approval on for the former Myers Hotel building at 220 South Main Street. That's located just west across Main Street from the city's water park facility. As you'll remember, last spring, about this time, we encountered a tremendous windstorm, had some damage to local buildings, and in this case, this property had a canopy, overhang, awning, you can probably use about 11 words to describe, that was constructed within the right-of-way, so outside of the private property boundary and in the public right-of-way, platted and dedicated to the city for Main Street. Prior to that windstorm, the awning or overhang was damaged by a driver of a moving truck that was later, thanks to the dedicated work of our police department, cameras at the pool, prosecuted for that action and leaving the scene of that accident. So it was a unfortunate set of events, but in any case, the awning was damaged and later required to be deconstructed to preserve public safety. The reason that public safety is paramount in a case like this is within the right-of-way, built structures are typically not permitted or only permitted under certain circumstances. The reasons for that include liability. So in the event of that awning, for instance, if it was in dangerous condition and fell and hit someone, there's a sidewalk that transits in the right-of-way right underneath it. There's road, obviously passage that some drivers navigate well, others take vehicles they shouldn't and cause damage or receive damage from that. When the new property owner purchased the property and approached the city about how to address rebuilding the awning and overhang and their work to restore the whole property, the city attorney reviewed the case, and as you may remember, in very recent history, we also approved a similar right-of-way use agreement for an adjacent property, actually, just to the west of 220 South Main. That was for a different purpose and project, but luckily we had a template available, and with very limited legal resources, we were able to set that up for this circumstance. We did also thoroughly check city records and county register of deeds records to ensure there wasn't a previous agreement recorded with the property. In those searches, we weren't able to locate reference to an existing agreement or prior agreement that needed to be superseded or updated in this case. So in short, the right-of-way agreement that is included in the packet for consideration indemnifies the city. It sets roles and responsibilities in the event of different circumstances or emergency work or repairs in this right-of-way space, and it grants a license to the property owner of the property 220 South Main to construct the improvements within the prescribed area depicted in the agreement. We'll then, upon approval and signature by the abutting property owner, we would record that with the property, so it not only applies to the current owner, but down the road in the future, in the event there's ever similar circumstances or others that need to reference it, it's very easily accessed and not buried in a file cabinet somewhere or 3 owners ago and their belongings. So happy to take any other questions you might have. And obviously, if you'd like to let Mr. Kilborn speak, I'm sure he'd be happy to address you too.
Did you say it was Mr. Kilborn? Oh. Would young Mr. Kilborn like to address the group?
No, but I'll take questions.
appreciate what you're doing for that building.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's looking great. I'm sure your
Thank
whole
you.
family is contributing.
yes. yeah.
Yes?
So, just trying to buy up the oldest buildings first, and so about that, and now about the Myers, so.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
Just love being here, and, yeah. What else, Dan?
Are you restoring the awning as it was previously?
Trying to with
Yeah.
some, probably more up-to-date code
For sure.
based on current structural things, yeah.
That's cool.
Anyone else?
Just thank you for
Oh, yeah, thank you.
investing in the town, again,
Yeah.
with another. If you guys don't know, the cool pink house, that's Patrick's as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your work. It looks great so far, and I can't wait to see it when it's done.
Very good. Well, you can rent it now if you want. You can come on down. Partial occupancy, so. Cool. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions for staff? If not, I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 042603, approving the right-of-way use agreement for 220 South Main Street.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I heard Mr. Wilkie first. Voting, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again. That ends new business. We'll move on to the city manager's agenda. We'll start actually with let's start with Mr. Brockovich. Or Mr. Porter, whoever wants to go first.
Mr. Porter can do the, if he doesn't mind, do the budget update.
Okay.
All right, we've got our first quarter of 2026 complete, which is hard to believe. It feels like we just started, but I think each quarter goes faster, so we better buckle up. As we're a quarter of the way through the city's fiscal year, we are tracking a few key initiatives and progress items. The first is ARPA funding. So as you may remember, these funds were encumbered or obligated back in January of 2023, which is also hard to believe, for the engineering and construction observation costs associated with the city's wastewater treatment plant improvements project. So we're currently at about 58% of the expenditures of those obligated funds, which sounds great, but our deadline to spend 100% of those funds is 9 months away. So we are working closely with the contractor and with BG Consultants on that project to keep it on pace, on schedule, and obviously not jeopardize those funds by not spending them within the prescribed time frame. So we'll keep monitoring that closely. We do retain about $319,000 in funds still in our accounts for that, and we're ready to keep moving. So stay tuned in future reports for that. We also did receive our February 2026 late sales and use tax remittance and our March sales and use tax remittance from the state on time in March. So we're excited about that. I'll talk a little bit more later in the report about that. We also received the second of our 7 remittances of property and motor vehicle taxes from Leavenworth County and don't have any concerns to highlight there. So all in all, in pretty good progress through the year. If you look at the major revenues and expenditures on pages 2 and 3 of the report, a couple things to note. General fund revenues are slightly elevated compared to last year. Some of that's driven by building permits, property taxes as well, coming in slightly ahead of last year's pace. General fund expenditures are slightly down. That's partly attributable to projects, but we expect that to accelerate pretty quickly because we do have some pretty large capital projects funded by the general fund that are a little abnormal for typical years, and those will kick in later in the year and catch us up to pace with prior years. Looking ahead to page 4 of the report, sales and use tax. So you'll remember we've been in the range of 7 to 11% behind budget the first 2 months of the year, or behind last year's pace. After the third of the monthly remittances received this year, city sales and use tax is down 3%. Our share of the county sales and use tax is up a little less than 2%. Total sales aggregated across the city and the share of the county are down about 5.5%. Total use is up about 5.3%. So that all nets out to less than 2% behind last year's pace. That sounds like a pretty large percentage, but we're talking about less than $11,500 across all that. So not overly concerning. I also want to highlight, especially for those of you newer to the city council, sales and use tax lags 2 months. So the remittances we report in March's report are really revenues collected by the state from purchases made in January. So there's always that cyclical nature of the year and spending. We also see the impact of things like remittance schedules. Some remit every month. Some businesses remit once a quarter. Some remit when the Kansas Department of Revenue sends them mean letters in the mail. So there's really no rhyme or reason with the variety of remitting businesses we have and the number of businesses we have to some of that. So you have to spread things out fairly long term and identify trends that way. You can't look at a single month or even a set of 2 or 3 months and really take a lot of value out of that. It's still good to see the comparison, but it frankly isn't a very predictable standard distribution of returns. When we look at our rolling month averages, a 36-month rolling average ranged down to 12-month rolling average. I like to highlight that because that's taking kind of an uber long-term look in 1, 2, and 3 year increments. And if you look at our overall collections over a 12-month rolling average, we're about $2,000 higher in the first 3 months of the year, looking back in that perspective. And I think that's a positive sign. It's obviously indicative of a much longer term look than just 3 months. So good signs there, but nothing obviously growing either, and that's something to think about as we're looking at building next year's budget. So any questions on sales tax before we proceed? Okay. The next pages of the report highlight again our 3 major capital projects: Front and Ridge Street, the 14th Street corridor, and the wastewater treatment plant project that we highlighted earlier. Front and Ridge Street does not have a whole lot more to report compared to last month. We did expend a little less than $10,000 more in engineering costs for the project, and we're at about 98% done with design. We'll actually have some documents to share with you probably before the next monthly financial report that highlight the sidewalk connection plan between McGee Meadows and the intersection of Ridge and Front Street. Ridge and Front Street. So we're very excited about that. It's obviously also highlighted in the newsletter. So we're thrilled to be putting that information out there. We've received a lot of compliments about the work and very limited number of, I would say, concerns, not complaints. So we're thrilled about that progress. The capital project has only spent about 20% of the budget so far. 14th Street corridor, we're a little less than a quarter of the way through the total design project. And again, we've not yet let bid for construction phase of that project. The wastewater treatment plant project, we expected pay app number 2 a few weeks ago. That has not been processed yet, but again, that's on the construction contract and KDHE loan. It's not through our engineering contract with ARPA funds that we're more critically concerned about being in a timely fashion. So we remain on track with that project in those regards. Looking at one last element of the report that I wanted to highlight, the very last page, 21 of 21, is our quarterly treasurer's report. For those of you new to the City Council, this is required to be completed in a quarterly fashion by city staff. We include it in the financial report posted on the city's website. We're also required by state law to post it in the newspaper. So it'll be in the Tonganoxie Mirror on April 22nd, I believe, this Wednesday. It's published in the legal section, and we don't typically get a lot of questions about it, but I think one thing it does that is useful for our community, even though it's a prescribed format and content, is it highlights both our funds, the complexity of those funds, just by looking at, I think it's, I forget how many are listed, I think it's 27 if I remember correctly, it's a lot. But it also highlights at the bottom of that page our outstanding debt obligations, which have trended down in recent years as we've paid off long-term obligations. But for the very first time, you can see at the end of the general obligation bonds, the first remittances of the KDHE loan for the sewer project. So those total just under $189,000 with the first disbursement of loan funds. Again, that loan will total $6.345 million. So we're at about 3% of our loan funds dispersed, but this is the first time in this report that we've reported that issuance. So that'll continue to grow over time. That's very abnormal. Usually you issue a bond, it's all there and you pay it down. In this case, we're spending it and borrowing it month by month. So very weird and abnormal, but if you get a question about that, or if you have a question about that, just direct them to staff or try to let them know just that. So happy to take any questions you have, but again, no overall concerns to report at this point in the year.
Questions for Mr. Porter? Thank you very much for your hard work on this. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Mr. Brockovich?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to give the council a quick update on some of the city facilities, especially in the downtown corridor. Certainly, I think it's an exciting time where we've completed this downtown regulating plan, and we know that there's a lot of opportunities, and we've kind of documented that now. And so, as often happens, one of the first things we should do as a municipality is look at the buildings we own and what's our long-term plans with that. And so we obviously have the City Hall, our current location, which we've occupied for the last 9 to 10 years now. But we have the old city council chambers, the former city hall, which is the older house, and the old docks building, which was a purchase that we made a couple of years back, or about a year ago. And so when we look at those, we knew a few years ago, we knew we had an issue with the roof at the old council chambers. That building, we had to make a decision, were we going to file an insurance claim and fix a roof on a building that would be in the tens of thousands of dollars for a building we didn't have a long-term use for. And so what we tried to do is work with staff to kind of put some Band-Aids on that. Those Band-Aids have not held up very well. And so in most recent time frame, staff has done a great job of coordinating old records that were located in those buildings, working with companies that can digitize the things that we need to keep longer, and purging any records that we didn't need to retain. And so as we're kind of doing that, the conditions of that building, though, require, that folks wear masks. And so whether it was City Hall staff or Public Works staff, just kind of doing the brute squad, carrying all the things the heavy things that we needed to get out of there. So we're getting those buildings into a position that we can start addressing things and looking at a demolition schedule for the buildings that need to go. We've also, during that same time frame or concurrently, had talked to the Historical Society to see if there's interest in possibly moving a building or two, and they explored that with limited to little, no interest in moving those facilities. And so I before we embarked on a demolition schedule, I wanted to at least be able to address that in a public setting to say, I think there's a lot of positive things. We've had great communication with other public entities in Tonganoxie that have an interest in having a presence downtown. I know that in some of our early CMIP discussions this year, we've talked about community centers. Is there a way to do something? And I think that what I wanted to try to reassure is that we're very cognizant of the historical significance of those structures. There's murals, there's things like that, and although we may not be able to preserve them long-term in the current status they're in, city staff is doing a great job of inventorying that and saying, hey, if there's an opportunity to do a development project downtown, and we certainly have interest in that, how do we maybe ensure that some of those components are part of whatever the new development could be? And so we're taking a hard look at that. And so again, I just wanted to have the opportunity to address that in a public meeting, even though we've kind of talked about it along the way, certainly some components of this the last 3+ years. And so we're kind of getting to that point where we've got to take action, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have. I don't have a lot of specifics right now, but if you had some questions, certainly entertain those.
Any questions for Mr. Brakovich? Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate your work. Moving on to the city attorney agenda.
No items, Mayor.
I apologize, I didn't credit you with all the work that went into this e-bike thing, because it was a ton, and I appreciate you and I appreciate the work you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Staff did a lot of the heavy lifting there, so appreciate them as well.
Mayor Pro Tem agenda,
Nothing tonight.
city council agenda. Anybody have anything they want to bring up? Okay. I need to reappoint a Tonganoxie Recreation Commission member. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have turned to that page before I got started. But it's Lisa, right? Lisa Totten? She's been on the board since I was on it. That was ages ago, and she's a great member, and I would really like to appoint her again since she's willing to do it. Do we need a vote on that? Okay. All who approve, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, she's reappointed. Thank you. And now we have the executive session. Ms. Stevens?
Sure. I move that the city council recess into executive session to obtain legal advice regarding development and related matters. To obtain legal advice, regarding development and related matters pursuant to the attorney-client consultation exception in KSA dot 75-4319B2. The executive session will include the city attorney, the city manager, assistant city manager, and city clerk, as well as council, and it will, the open meeting will resume at 8:22 p.m.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? We are in executive session.
No binding action was taken in the executive session.
All right, thank you all for your hard work tonight. I appreciate it. Is there anything you want to add on this 420, Mr. Dale?
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Thanks. Thanks again. See you in a couple weeks.
What's the